Oh, Arch, you old rascal, you've done it again.
Hello everyone, my name is Asmagon and welcome back to the channel, and I do want to make something extremely clear here. I am not a politically charged channel. I'm not going to be. I'm not openly conservative, liberal, libertarian, what have you. I just don't get involved with that crap, and I don't consider this video getting involved with that. This is more me being open against cancel culture. And recently, a YouTuber who I am a fan of, I will be open about that. I am a fan of Arch Warhammer, not because he is an open conservative, not because of anything to do with politics whatsoever. I'm a fan because I have always enjoyed his Warhammer 40k videos, including lore and the such. I enjoy his occasional gaming videos, and I think he's a funny guy most of the time. That is my personal perspective, and that is my personal bias that I will open with and be completely transparent about in this video. However, recently he's become under fire over on Twitter by a number of other people for some cherry-picked Discord messages that he has posted publicly. So this first cherry-picked message, and you'll continue to hear me say cherry-picked because this is what frustrates me most about all of these, is the fact that we're not given the full context. Now, if a lot of these screenshots had full context messages and showed like the full from beginning to end, or at the very least from beginning to the point of these comments, showing us, you know, the build-up, showing us how the whole conversation was going, showing, you know, parts that might reveal whether this is sarcasm, humor, or him being a little bit more edgy than usual, I would have preferred that quite a bit. And because these do not show that context, I'm being force-fed a perspective that's being caused by the fact that these are cherry-picked screenshots. So that frustrates me quite a bit, and it's very clear that this person's goal is to get Arch canceled and expose him. Now, I have not seen any video as of yet, but this whole thing is about a day old so far. At least that, as far as I can tell, this whole thing is about a day old in terms of controversy. So I haven't seen any video about it yet. I know we did a live stream a little while ago. I'm gonna listen through that, see if he has anything to say about this. Hopefully, he'll make a dedicated video addressing this. But till then, I'm going to cover this as if he has not responded. And I will try to be as unbiased as possible, but I don't believe it's biased to say that I have a problem with cherry-picked images. I think everyone should have a problem with that, because it's just blatant that they have one perspective they want to show, and they're not showing you the receipts, if you will. They're showing you the part of the receipt that they want to show. And I think that's ridiculous and unfair. So let's go through these one by one. I'll read them all out. Wait, the black people can't even find black history? ? Then why do we use a moth, which I assume means month, for it? And this other person says, not sure. Arch says, dang it, no cotton emote. Sounds really bad. Now, was anybody else being this belligerent? Was anybody else being this over the top, this edgy? What was going on in this conversation beforehand? We don't know, because it was cherry-picked. Now, we don't know if this is just an edgy statement and this doesn't reflect any kind of racial belief that he has. We don't know. We don't have the context. Black history in 3 easy steps. 1, get captured by black people. 2, get he misspelled sold. Sold by black people, get liberated by white people. Any questions? Again, I have no personal perspective I'm going to share in this, because I'm not open political. I don't intend to ever be. But I don't see this as I don't see this as a horrific or bad statement. This is definitely a conservative perspective. I definitely understand where he's coming from. I will not say whether I agree with this. I will not say whether I disagree with this. What I will say is there's nothing wrong with this statement. He's not saying anything negative about black people. He's not saying anything. He's not saying anything in this particular comment that I would say is bad or horrific or evil. It's just a conservative take on slavery, on black slavery in America. That's just a conservative point of view. I don't see anything wrong with that, as much as it's just a perspective. So this is where we start getting into more spicier ones. Arch, no. The N-word is not a smart creature prone to violent outbursts. The black man is just fine. In the immortal words of Chris Rock, there are black people and there are and have got to go. And then this next person says there are white people and then there are socialists. And then Arch says no, there are people and there are socialists. Now, right at this point, I would like to point out, and this is just something that I believe personally. If someone is truly racist, why would they quote somebody of the race they hate or that they despise or dislike? Because for those of you who are unaware, Chris Rock is a black man. A very popular black comedian. Personally, I would say I like him more than Kevin Hart, for example. But, people love Kevin Hart. I think Kevin Hart's hilarious, but I think I like Chris Rock more. My favorite comedian is probably Gabriel Iglesias, but Chris Rock is definitely up there in the upper echelon of comedians, in my opinion. But the point is, Chris Rock is a black man who said this in a comedy bit. There are black people, and there are and have got to go. And he was making a distinction between the standard, person of his ethnicity who isn't known for crime and bad behavior, thug life, gangbangers. He was basically the comedic distinction he was making was that were thugs. They were gang members. They were the negative stereotype of his race, and that they had to go because they were bringing the rest of his race down with them. That was the comedic bit. I don't believe a true racist, which is what this person is trying to make Arch look like. They're trying to cherry pick and make, through these comments, make Arch look like a true white supremacist, a true, white power type of guy. Again, with no context before this on what the conversation was about, on the tone everybody involved in the conversation had set, how many other people were making racial humor. Not that justifies him making a racist statement, but again, I have always known Arch to be very sarcastic and very edgy. These are two things he's known for, and this is, I think, a pretty good example of how edgy he can get. I don't think he said anything in that particular line that's horrible. The N-word he even says, no, the N-word is not a smart creature. I think he's agreeing with that old sentiment that Chris Rock had, that there is a difference between the black person and the N-word. They are two different things. Are not all black people. They are the thugs, gangbangers, the bad guys. And their bad behavior brings down their whole, through the media and the such, and how they're portrayed. They're all portrayed to be like the and not just black people. People who happen to be black, which doesn't really matter. That's what he's saying is, he's making that distinction. And he's quoting a black comedian who said that. I don't think this is a bad statement, but that's my personal opinion. And then I don't know why this person, again, this person's very, very much cherry picking, but I'm not sure why they included this. No, there are people and there are socialists. That's again a very spicy take, but it's not one I'm surprised by. He is a conservative individual, and conservatives typically, like, the modern conservative enemy or the antithesis of the modern conservative, I would say, is probably a socialist. They have complete opposite values. They have complete opposite perspectives. So to hear him say this is not a surprise to me. It's not. I don't think it's an inherently evil statement. I think it's just an extreme statement. He's dehumanizing people just for their political beliefs. I think that's a little far, but at the same time, he's an edgy person, and this isn't like an official analytical video where he's breaking down his thoughts in a very calm and put together manner. This is more or less just a social shoot the shit kind of thing, and he's not thinking about his statements as thoroughly. Whenever any of us are talking or shooting the shit with friends, I think we all phrase things a little off and a little wrong. But for all we know, he could have corrected this statement after it was said to this other person. He might have said, "Oh, correction, I didn't mean to phrase it like this." or he didn't, or he doubled down. We don't know because, again, this is cherry-picked. This could have gotten worse. This could have gotten better. We don't know. We also don't know what preceded it. We don't know if it was a heated debate. We don't know. And that's a pretty common theme with a lot of these snapshots. All right, this next one. Oh, and they were also the kind of, to think paint rendered them invulnerable to bullets and barbed wire. Now, this is a statement that kind of confused me because I'm a 40K fan. And for those of you who don't know, in the lore, orcs, orc boys, they believe they have this psyker power that allows it. So if they collectively believe something, it makes it real. It makes it true. So if all orc boys believe the color yellow makes them faster, or the color red makes them stronger, or the color blue makes them tougher, whatever have you. That's what I initially wasn't sure about. Is he? Because I'm pretty sure there's a clan called the Black something of orcs or of orc boys in the 40K lore. I don't know if that's, but let's assume, just because this person wants us to assume, who took the snapshots, that he's talking about black people. Is it racial humor, or is it meant to be a striking statement, a striking comment, where he's like, oh, screw them? But again, that brings back the question, if Arch is a true racist, why would he quote a black comedian as a reference from a perspective he agrees with? A true racist, I don't think, would quote a black person or give them credit, even if they did agree with a statement they had. Because a true racist, they don't care. The point is to be right from their point of view, and to hate the race that they particularly despise. I don't think they would quote somebody of that race ever, even if the statement they were quoting agreed with them. I don't think they would do that. I don't think they would associate their beliefs with a race they despise. I don't think they would do that. So again, we have zero context for this line. And again, I'm not sure that this is talking about black people. This could very well be talking about an Orc Boys clan, because they believe in colors, protecting them or providing them a source of power of sorts. So I'm not sure. So I'm putting that in the yellow bin of concerning, but certainly not damning, especially with the universe that he's known to be a fan of. Pretty sure it had a author. Now this is, again, I would say an edgy joke, one I wouldn't make, but again, we don't know the context of the conversation. Was there a lot of racial humor in this conversation? I'm assuming so, since all of these look like they're no, this is from the third month of the year, 10th day. This is from the same date. This is from more recently. This is last month on the 29th. This is, again, going back in time, back to the third month of the year. All these are taken on very different dates, and are all compiled. And again, the context for them is not being shown, which is something, again, I'm not a fan of. Either show the context or don't. You don't just show cherry-picked lines and leave it at that, because that's just cancel culture bullshit, and I'm not a fan of it. I believe some people make racially charged jokes and humor, and is it the kind of humor I like? Not really. I'm not big into racial humor, but there are those who are, and there are those who are of all races. There are black people out there who enjoy making white people jokes. There are white people out there who enjoy making other white people jokes, make black jokes, make Hispanic jokes. There are Asians out there who like making black jokes, Hispanic jokes, white people jokes. People make racial humor all the time. Now, where you start kind of walking the tightrope of that sensitive line is definitely when you start, using terms like blackies and, ching chong. These are kind of sensitive lines to use, and certainly something I wouldn't do. I'm not a fan of racial humor, but I'm not going to put down someone who is and assume they're a racist just because they enjoy racial humor. I think you can enjoy racial humor and not be a racist. I don't think that's an immediate assumed association. But that's just me. But again, without context, that sounds pretty fucking bad. But I would love the context. Now, assuming the context wouldn't make this statement any better, this is a pretty racist statement. But again, it sounds like some edgy, sarcastic joke that he would make. I've been viewing Arch for a long time. He's a pretty edgy guy. This kind of goes in line with that. I don't know. We'll go to this one next. Maybe God does, all caps, hate yellow people. Unpopular opinion, but the Chinese deserved it. I mean, the locusts do seem to be setting a pattern. Bright side of life. Again, out of context, this sounds pretty fucking horrible. What are they talking about? Are they talking about COVID-19? Are they talking about a war? Are they talking about a series of unfortunate events that have affected the Chinese? If so, this could be a sarcastic joke. Again, racially charged and a little bit, it sounds really bad out of context, but I would love the rest of the context of it. The locusts do seem to be setting a pattern. I don't know what that locust means. Does it mean the actual insect locusts, or is it talking about, people locusts? I don't know. SJWs are referred to as locusts. You have alt-rights. Locust is sometimes just a derogatory term of people swarming, swarming around and, hive mind kind of mentality. I don't know in what context this is which. I couldn't say. But I would love the rest of the context. Can we get the full conversation? And is this just a very edgy, racially based humor? What is this? I don't know. I don't have what preceded it and what happened post this conversation. I don't have that, so this sounds really bad by itself. Unpopular opinion, the Chinese deserved it. That doesn't necessarily come from a racial standpoint. Whoever this person is, this might be coming from more of a society standpoint. Maybe, hey, the Chinese, they have a very, how they've been treating Hong Kong. Their government's very, very abusive to their own people. They have a very, very scary form of government. I would say that could be from the perspective. It doesn't necessarily infer that this is a racial-based conversation. What Arch said is kind of racial-based, but again, this could be just a saucy, edgy humor, and something I would expect Arch to do. Sammy equals gypsy but worse. I don't know what Sammy is. SAMI. I don't know what that is. So I don't even have the base understanding to know what this one's about. But gypsy, but worse. And now is he referring to the gypsy as in, just the lifestyle of a gypsy? Is he referring to, I don't know if is gypsy a race? I don't even know if gypsy's a race. So I can't say whether this is even racial humor. I'll be honest, I'm totally ignorant on whether a gypsy is a race or if I'm under the assumption that it has to be if it's being shown off in this as a gotcha moment for Arch. At least gypsies only steal things. Sounds like an edgy joke. Again, I would love the context. Could be an honest, piercing statement, but I don't have the context. And I would personally, if I could have an interview with Arch and ask him about all these things, I would love to. It used to be legal to I assume shoot them, but he said it used to be. He emphasized used to be. Okay, it used to be legal to shoot them. Time for field exercise with lime ammo. Yeah, but those pesky human rights. That sounds like a sarcastic statement. In the 20s and 40s, we were so close to solving the problem. Again, this definitely sounds, I can hear Arch's voice saying this in a very sarcastic tone. Now, this edgy humor is not for everybody. Certainly not for me at times. I like edgy humor here and there, but I don't really make it all that much. It's not what I'm a fan of, but I know there are people who are. At least now I know why the black chick in Jedi was so ungodly ugly. I don't think he Now, this could be screenshotted because the person who screenshotted believes this is somehow proving that Arch thinks... Because this statement doesn't imply, and this is how I read it, I don't have the lens of, I'm looking for the racism. I'm looking for... The context is what I'm looking for, but I don't have it. They're clearly talking about Star Wars. Well, at least now I know why the black chick in Jedi was so ungodly ugly. Now, the way he phrased this line doesn't imply to me that he's saying because she's black, she's ugly. In fact, he's saying, she's ungodly ugly, she just happens to be black. That's how I read the statement. At least now I know why the black chick, which I guess is just... I didn't watch the movie, to be honest. Well, I did, but I didn't pay that close attention, so I don't know how many black chicks there are in the movie. If there's only one, because I only remember one, that could just be him very brazenly, again, that's the kind of person he is. He's very brazen. Whether you like that or dislike that, I appreciate it sometimes. Sometimes it's a little much, but most of the time I can appreciate it. The black chick in Jedi is so ungodly ugly. I don't read this as black chick is ugly because she's black chick. I read this as this is the descriptor I'm going to provide for the character, and who I believe happens to be ugly. I don't think they're connected. So whoever screenshotted this, my guess is that they thought this was another jab proving that Arch is racist. He thinks black people are ugly, but that's not what he said. This other person laughed my ass off. Damn, Arch. If it were an honest mistake, they wouldn't double down. Well, what's the mistake? We don't know. We don't know. What the hell are they talking about? What's making the black chick ugly? Okay, are they talking about costume? Are they talking about her hair? What are they talking about that they didn't like that made her ugly? And the trans statement, I don't remember the character being trans in any way. Someone in the comments, please tell me if... Because I don't know what that's in reference to. She was trans. I'm confused, but we don't have the context. So what preceded these statements in the conversation? What were they talking about? They say, oh, that black chick with her skin full of melanin, she's so ugly, or was it oh, that costume, the makeup they chose for, oh, that made her look so ugly? We don't know. We don't have the goddamn context. And this one, I read this and I instantly knew this was sarcasm. You can't read this. No one can read this and think this is what Arch legitimately believes. Especially with how many times I've heard Arch spit on fascism, joke, and also call out people who overuse the term fascist and, call people who disagree with him fascist solely because they disagree with them. I've seen that. I've seen that many times, and I've seen Arch call that out many times. So this sounds purely like sarcasm, and I think the person who screenshotted this had to have been stupid to think that this was serious. But to be fair, it's text. It's hard to interpret, and if somebody hated Arch and snuck onto his Discord to, dig up dirt, they were going to interpret this as serious no matter what, with or without context. But anyway, the statement is, real fascism leads to a utopia state. I'll even read it how I know Arch would do. Real fascism leads to a utopian state where every member is both spiritually and physically fulfilled, whilst leaving in as much luxury as the state can possibly afford. Now, right there, this sounds like a joking, mocking of, people who support the fascist ideal. Real fascism leads to a utopian state where every member is both spiritually and physically fulfilled, whilst leaving in as much luxury as the state can possibly afford. Right there, that's a sarcastic statement. Okay, because it's obviously the joke there is, oh, the state will give you as much luxury as it can afford. But in a fascist society, usually the government doesn't have a ton of money that they shove out to the people. It's all hoarded up to the upper echelons. They pay everybody so much who's at the top of the government, usually the dictator in a fascist society. There isn't any money left over for the people. So that right there, that's just a sarcastic statement. This is pure sarcasm. Now that we've gone through all of these, and I meant to give my perspective at the end after reading through all of them, but I kind of just streamlined it and did it as we went along. All in all, I do not interpret this as Arch is proven a racist without any kind possible room for him not to be. Cancel culture, hashtag Arch is over party, BS, BS, BS. I don't believe that. I don't believe Arch is over. I don't believe that it's fair to make that statement. Arch is not over. I would definitely encourage Arch to make a video on it. I would love to interview him. I would love to ask him. I would like to ask him the questions. Like what's the context? Do you have the screenshot of the full conversation so we can see what led up to these statements? And if you don't, or if you refuse to, that's suspicious. And if the comments happen to be deleted now, that's even more suspicious. I would definitely like to talk to Arch about this personally. Not that I'm, gonna say like he has to interview me. I would like it if he just made a video showing where these conversations were in the Discord. All in all, my personal perspective is Arch was just being edgy and, was being over the top as usual. He seems to be a fan through these comments alone. How I interpret it, he's a fan of racial humor, which I don't think is inherently wrong if there's no malice behind it. If you don't think in the back of your head when you're making these jokes, oh, black people really are like this, or white people really are like this, or if you think that in the back of your head when you hear a racist joke, I think then you are a racist. But I think if you make a racial joke, I think you're just kind of making fun of the stereotypes. That's how I've always interpreted racial humor, and that's how I hope most people mean it when they make racial humor. But that's my personal interpretation. I have no doubt that a lot of people are gonna say I'm a fascist after this video and gonna say, oh, you're just defending him because you're an ultra fan. No. If Arch ever made a video where he was talking to a black person or looked at a black person and called them the N-word and said you're a dirty N-word, you bet your ass I'd unsubscribe. As long as the context showed that, yeah, 100% he meant it. This wasn't a bit. This wasn't a skit. The other person didn't know about it. This was straight up a racist statement. You bet your ass that unsubscribe. I don't support that behavior whatsoever, and I definitely think it's disgusting. But at the same time, I don't think, after reading through these and being a fan of Arch for a long time, knowing the edgy humor he's known for, knowing that he likes to be very sarcastic and over the top, I don't interpret any of this as racist or serious even. Most of it seems more humorous or just racial humor, dark humor, edgy humor. That's how I interpret it. Anyway, this video's gone on long enough. I've probably been recording for over a half hour. But tell me what you guys think in the comment section below. Is there context I'm missing? Is there more out there than these screenshots? Has Arch made a video on it? I don't know. I haven't seen anything of it. I saw he did a live stream. Maybe he addressed it there, but I do not know. All in all, I don't think any of this is proof. They're all cherry-picked for one. For two, knowing Arch, he's a very edgy guy. But if all of this is enough to make you unsubscribe, then maybe you shouldn't have been subscribed to him in the first place. Anyway, have a good one, guys, and just enjoy your day. Also, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. I'm not a political channel. I don't do political perspectives or anything like that. And I would say I don't do a lot of these types of videos either. But I do a lot of 40K content, comedy videos, gaming videos. I hope you guys enjoy those. And yeah, I will see you all next time. Bye-bye!
And for the Imperium, my brothers.